Walter Mazzarri is no more. Francesco Calzona is the new Napoli coach, and potentially Napoli's season is saved. We are 9 points away from top four. That is a lot of points to recover, but it's not completely impossible with a breath of fresh air, with a new coach that is actually prepared and actually knows this group of players. Plus, we can still qualify to the next round of the Champions League. But let's figure out who this Calzona is and what and who does he bring to the table. So guys, Calzona is the historic right-hand man of Maurizio Sarri, but it's not Sarri that chose Calzona. Interestingly enough, it's the other way around. You see, Calzona was a lower league football player, made it all the way to Serie B, then starts his managerial career in one of the lower amateur leagues of Italian football. But he realizes that maybe this whole coaching thing is not quite right for him, at least not at that moment, not at the first team coach, but he has an eye for talent and he sees an up and coming banker that wants to make his way into coaching that actually has some quite innovative ideas and methods. And so he tells his president to sign Maurizio Sarri as the first team coach while he will learn from this banker. And so together they embark on this journey, and it's a journey that takes them 20 years through the various leagues of Italian football until they go to the Serie A with Empoli, then they go to the Champions League with Napoli, and they are within a few points of winning the Scudetto with Napoli together. But in this time, crucially, Calzona becomes the master of the defensive line of football. Not that he has a defensive approach or mentality, but he is just a master in aligning, coordinating the back four line. And it's what really enables Sarri to play attacking football. The fact that there is such a specialist behind the scenes, making sure that when Napoli do lose the ball, they are quick to recover it. And if they are attacked, then the defense knows exactly what they're doing. They're organized, they play with memory, and it's thanks to him that Koulibaly became what he became after a few seasons at Napoli, where he was a good player under Benitez, but it's really under Sarri that Koulibaly transformed into a beast. And this Napoli team was able to attack with ease, knowing that behind them there was a proper plan in place to avoid conceding goals. And he manages to do that with a really innovative approach of using drones. This is one of the first times in Italian football, if not European football, that drones were used to really study millimeter by millimeter the position of players, and to study and explain to players with a different perspective how they need to move when the ball is at a certain position of the field. This is something that he did from his time at Empoli and has carried that on. Then when Maurizio Sarri left Napoli, Ancelotti came in and wanted to bring his son Davide as the vice coach. So clearly there was no more room for Calzona. He goes and follows Eusebio Di Francesco at Cagliari. But then when Spalletti comes to Napoli, the first name that he wants in his staff is Calzona. So he brings Calzona back to Naples in Spalletti's first year in charge, and they set the building blocks for what is then to be a title-winning team. This was a team that in the first year didn't win the title, but with 30 games done of the season, they were tied first with Milan, and then things capitulated in the final 8 games. But it definitely, I think, was more to do with some situations regarding some player contracts than in particular the way that Spalletti or Calzona were operating themselves. In fact, Spalletti then goes on to win the title the next year, but Calzona is not there to witness it himself, because he starts receiving offers for a few Serie A clubs, probably the likes of Verona or something like that. He never really said who that club was. After rejecting though some of those offers for the Serie A, Marek Hamsik calls him over the summer and says, would you like to join the Slovakian national team? I've given your name to the federation as the ideal candidate for us. And Calzona took 10 minutes while he's filling his car with gas, apparently. Took 10 minutes to think about it, and then calls Hamsik back and says, yes, I'd like the job. And over there, he finds a player that he knows very well, Stanislav Lobotka, and makes him the center of Slovakia's midfield and team, and really builds a team around that. But in Slovakia, they were not too happy at the start with his appointment. In his first game in charge, only 3,000 fans showed up. That's not a lot, even if they were playing in a small stadium. But by the time that he does his final 3 games at home for Slovakia, the stadium is all 3 times sold out. He wins the hearts of the Slovakian people, not just with the results, but the way that he plays football with that team. And he manages to qualify Slovakia to the Euros. Of course, he will still be managing them during the summer, but the Slovakian national team federation has given the okay, the green light for him to also be coaching Napoli up until then at least. Guys, I just wanted to add 2 little personal takes on this as well. Number one, by coaching the national team, then he's used to coaching a group of players that are not always training week in, week out together, adapting to the fact that he's only got 3 or 4 days to work with the team before the next game. That is, I think, ideal for what Napoli needs right now. Someone that can come in and get this team going without requiring weeks of preparation. The fact that obviously he knows a lot of these players is always a big plus, but the fact that there's many new players at Napoli, he can come in and get these guys to work with the existing group of players that he knows quite well, like it happens in a national team that has a lot of turnover. Number two, he's bald, and we all know what bald means. And apparently they also want to bring back Sinatti, Napoli's athletic coach from the Spalletti days. Now, he's with Spalletti and the Italian Federation, but I'm sure that the Italian Federation wants to find a resolution to this conflict that they have with Napoli regarding Spalletti's contract. There's a fine that they probably need to pay of around 3 million euros. I'm sure letting Sinatti finish the season with us at least is going to somewhat help those negotiations and to cool the temperature a little bit between the Italian FA and Napoli. Guys, that is Calzona. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, smash that like button and subscribe. And as always, Forza Napoli sempre. Ciao.